Thank you to the Orange County Citizens Foundation for allowing me to serve as moderator this evening in a debate involving the two candidates for Orange County Executive. Republican candidate Steve Neuhaus is the current Town of Chester supervisor. He was first elected to the Chester Town Board in 2003. He serves as vice president of the Orange County Association of Town Supervisors and Mayors. He is a founding board member of the Families of War Veterans Committee. Steve Neuhaus is a lifelong resident of Orange County and resides in Chester with his wife and two daughters. Steve, would you take the stage, please? Roxanne Donnery has been an Orange County legislator for the past 14 years, representing the towns of Highlands and Woodbury, along with the villages of Highland Falls, Woodbury, and Harriman. Her experience also includes 18 years on the Highland Falls Fort Montgomery School Board, 6 of those years as president. Roxanne Donnery is married with 4 children and 6 grandchildren. Roxanne, please join us. Here are the debate ground rules that we'll be working with this evening. No questions from the audience will be allowed. The questions posed have been submitted by non-governmental organizations and cover a variety of topics. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for an opening statement. Each candidate will then be provided a question in alternating order. Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds to offer a response. The candidate who was initially asked the question will have up to 30 seconds for rebuttal. I will intervene if a candidate strays from the question that was posed. And each candidate will then have a 2-minute wrap-up closing statement. We have a designated timer this evening in the front row. Margaret is sitting there. She will hold signs. Let the candidates know. Actually, you'll have to flip that over. So there we go. Okay. She will let the candidates know when their time is about to run out, and I will be stepping in to interrupt if and when that visual warning is ignored. Hopefully it will not be. A few moments ago, we had a coin flip. Ms. Donnery won, and she has opted to be the first with the closing 2-minute statement. That means Mr. Neuhaus will begin tonight with his opening 2-minute statement. Mr. Neuhaus.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. When I pulled into the parking lot, I was excited to see all the cars. And then when I got out of the car, I saw that there was band practice in the field. So I'm glad to see it start to fill up a little bit in here. I also want to thank Ed Estrada wherever he went because he was flying a Navy flag during the colors. So it's always nice to see that as a welcoming thing for myself. I want to thank the Citizens Foundation. I was prepared to thank everybody that was on the invitation, but it seems like the Citizens Foundation has won as the single logo here. The invitation that went out to the public had the Chamber of Commerce, the Partnership, Arts Council, and so on. And I guess everybody got bounced, and thank you for everybody that put this together. I'm honored to be here tonight. My parents are in the audience. My wife is in the audience. A lot of my colleagues in local government and friends and family. I am just very thrilled as a first-generation American to be able to run for office. My parents were both immigrants, and it's really the beauty of America that their son, their child, could run for elected office in one generation. And a lot of people around the world are not afforded those rights. So I'm happy to be here tonight. I look forward to sharing our ideas, and thank you so much for being here.
Ms. Donnery.
Thank you. Wow. Look at this. The people. This is government in action, and I thank all of you that have worked so hard to put together tonight. I'm very comfortable in this kind of an auditorium because it belongs to a school, and I did spend 18 years on the school board, 15 years in education. One thing that Tracy forgot, first of all, it's my 16th year as a legislator, so it made me feel older. But you forgot one of my grandchildren, and you can't do that to me. We have a newborn in the family that I'm very, very happy about. I'm here because of you. I'm here because I believe that we need change. And I'm I believe that I'm the one that can bring the different change to the county that we sit in tonight. The dysfunction that we have certainly been living with, we read in the papers, has to stop. And I know my opponent in the last forum we had tried to say that I was part of the problem. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I've never been in a majority party. I've always been in a minority. I've never had the controlling votes. It's not me, folks. We have a lot of work to do. We need to bring the transparency and trust back into our government. Information needs to be received by both sides the same. It can't be a few good old boys that's working things out at the top. It needs to filter down. The legislature needs to be respected. The charter needs to be respected. And I intend to do that if elected. Thank you.
Just Tracy, one technical thing. Ed Estrada or Nancy took my notes that were up here. So, I don't technically need them, but maybe he wants to run after all. You never know.
That's kind of neat.
I know.
Well, a major thrust of this debate will deal with important Orange County areas of concern other than the much-discussed Government Center and Valley View topics. However, we will begin with questions that do cover those issues, and we will direct our first question to Mr. Neuhaus. Several major decisions concerning county-owned properties remain unresolved, beginning with the fate of the Government Center, to build new, renovate, or a combination of the two. How would you, as county executive, resolve this issue?
I think what we've seen in the last 2 years now, and a few weeks since the storm hit and the building was closed not too long ago, or now a long time ago, what we've seen is similar to what you see in Washington, D.C. Government paralysis, fighting, bickering, back and forth. Whether you want to renovate, build new, do a hybrid, lease, the bottom line is we need to make a decision. The people in the village of Goshen, the businesses in particular, have seen a 40% reduction in their customers. And more importantly than that, the county taxpayers no longer have their county building. I, as a leader in Chester, have a history of working with Republicans and Democrats. When I was elected supervisor, I had 2 Republicans, including me, and 2 Democrats, and we were able to work together to get things done. My opponent represents 16 years of political infighting in this government. We'll talk about the other issues, but my bottom line and my platform as county executive is to make a decision and have construction within the first 6 months. Be flexible and open-minded. Everybody has their opinions on what they want to do with the county building, but we need to come together, make a decision, and move forward. And I know that there was a vote in March, but we don't see construction today.
The vote was in February. First of all, the government center never needed to be closed. There wouldn't be a building in Florida if we closed it for a little mold. Are you understanding what I'm saying? We have a fractured government. We're spread out all over the county. People can't find where it is they're supposed to go. The business district in Goshen has been terribly hurt, and for no reason. Yes, the building may have needed to be remodeled, that's for sure. There's no question about it. But I do not support coming out of this economy, we're not even sure that we're out of it, the kind of money that it would take at this given time to build, to take that structure down, pour concrete down, and start new, would cost millions of dollars more than a restoration. I've made it my business to go to every restoration I could get to in the Northeast. I've been to Yale, I've been to the UMass Dartmouth, I even went to Fishkill. I've met with them all. I asked all those engineers, should this building come down? No one said they considered taking their structure down. No one.
Mr. Neuhaus, you have 30 seconds. Do you have a personal preference at this point?
I have a personal preference, just from talking to the 3 engineers, is to have more new because of the different, there's 5 different things, I don't have 30 seconds to do it. Future energy costs, handicap accessibility, talking to the handicap organizations in this county that have recommended new. But I am flexible, and my whole politics and make a decision. Because sooner or later, we're going to see dust balls running down the streets of the Goshen because of inaction. More businesses are slated to close.
Our next question is directed to Ms. Donnery. Yesterday, Orange County Executive Ed Diana presented a proposed 2014 county budget that included 4 months of funding for the Valley View Nursing Home. Should Valley View remain in county hands, or should it be sold to a private entity?
I would like to see the county nursing home remain within the county's hands. I did ask for a 2-year resolution this past year when we were going back and forth over the nursing home with the various numbers. It became nothing but confusing. And I asked for 2 years to take the information that we collected at the investigative committees last summer. It was an enormous amount of time with professionals that came forward, and they told us things that they felt we were doing wrong, and millions of dollars could be different if we had implemented those changes. I believe that the county nursing home hasn't been given the chance that it needs. As a matter of fact, I really give so much credit to the employees, because every place I go, people keep telling me that they love it, they want to have it there for their loved ones, for their future. That should be funded full year. When you take dollars and you only fund something like Valley View for part of the year, then you're going to have us have to go back to court again to spend more money on this nonsense. More money of taxpayers has to be spent to argue through this issue. And the fact of the matter is, we'll have to come up with money out of a fund balance instead of it being a part of the regular budget. The numbers play different, folks. It's a lot of playing around with numbers here.
Mr. Neuhaus.
I think there's 3 major issues with the Valley View, besides the personal issues. Number 1, the management, which was taken care of earlier this year, and we're giving Mr. Lawrence Ledoux a chance to run Valley View. Number 2, the unions and the county have not come together to try to come up with some kind of resolutions and compromises. That's stuff that can be happening today to stop some of the bleeding at Valley View. My opponent is a legislator. Anybody that's part of Orange County government can streamline that and bring proposals to the county. That's not being done today. The third thing is the state reimburses county-run nursing homes at a fraction of what a private or a non-for-profit nursing home gets. They get dollar for dollar. What we should have is our state elected officials like Mr. Stupis introducing legislation in Albany, pushing the state to give dollar for dollar for county-run facilities, because right now they are set up to fail. The counties they're closing all over for a reason. I don't want to see the place closed. I've been there numerous times. I feel bad for the employees. I feel bad for the residents there. But going back to the budget, I'm concerned when you have people that have worked for the county 35 years, our budget director, and also our commissioner of finance, 18 years. Mrs. Donnery never had a problem with them working there, and the county legislature is questioning their numbers. The independent auditor, O'Connor and Davies, who's worked for the county, they're questioning their numbers. At what point, how many times do we have to do studies to find out answers until they give you what you want? I have to believe that you have to trust them.
Ms. Donnery.
I have to believe that everyone that you're talking about is working for the county executive. Even when O'Connor Davis came in with a very positive report to us in the summer, within another meeting or 2, even that changed. So it makes me distrustful. That is the reason why I'm running on trust. We need real numbers, and I don't think we get them. I think they're manipulated, and I think that we need to hear what they really are so the taxpayers can judge what they can afford.
Let's move on to a different topic involving economic development. This question to begin with Mr. Neuhaus. How do we regenerate economic development in our 3 cities? And how can we encourage economic activity while federal funding for infrastructure is diminishing?
I just wanted one little point on the budget. Moody's Investor Service, the most independent group in the world, has issued this county a warning. If that's not independent, I don't know what it is.
Excuse me, but why is he answering that? Why are you answering that? They didn't mention mention Valley View in that.
Economic development.
If we can stay on point, please.
Economic development is really one of my centerpieces as county executive. I mean, as a town supervisor. I have a strong record in Chester, and what I believe the three cities need, and I have to applaud Mayor Joe DiStefano, who's here, who's actually doing a good job as a mayor, and this city's really seen a turnaround. But I think we need to, first of all, stabilize the other two cities. City of Newburgh has less cops, at least over 30 less cops than when I was there 15 years ago. Crime is on the rise, and 2 weeks ago, the economist for the Wall Street Journal ranked it as one of the possible places in the United States, top 10, likely to go bankrupt. That's a serious problem. So before we can attract big businesses and small businesses to the cities, we need to stabilize the crime. In addition to that, we need to empower the partnership, who's already taken an initiative, the Orange County Partnership, to promote the cities. So I believe that there's a bright light at the end of the tunnel, but we do need to get crime under control in the other cities first, and then we also need to promote it through the Economic Development Agency of the partnership.
Ms. Donnery, economic development in our three cities.
I took a walking tour of Middletown Saturday, and it was very exciting for me to see because it truly was smart growth that we were talking about at the time in Orange County. The development that I see there and what they're doing to try to get the people to move back into the city with beautiful apartments above some of the renovated buildings, I thought was an incredible job that has been done. Certainly Newburgh has started a beautiful renovation with the riverfront, and it's obviously a place to go because look how busy it is. But I've also seen the partnership that I'm so very proud of in this county and the work they've done. And they're also, we have new businesses that are coming into Newburgh. And when I went to their last presentation in the brewery at Newburgh, it was filled. I was amazed. It was so wonderful to see in this economy that we've been dealing with and the opportunity that we have to bring the businesses there. But if we don't make them safe first, if we don't make them safe, no one can come. I believe the sales tax that we have, that we need to make a change, that we can benefit through our sales tax. We can benefit the cities, and possibly they could purchase more police protection. And I think that would be the beginning of bringing life back to those cities. You have to feel safe before you can even develop them.
Mr. Neuhaus, 30 seconds.
You know, I have the experience of working with economic development. I've been involved in all these, I didn't just come to the table now. I have the experience of working in the city of Newburgh. I know what they need. I have the endorsement of almost every law enforcement in the region. Just today we got the New York City Police endorsement. I have the City of Newburgh Police Department endorsement. The firefighters, they believe in me. These are the partners that we need in those cities if we're going to take those cities back and make them attractive to businesses. Those are partners, and they're with us.
Moving on to another topic, this question directed to Ms. Donnery. The Orange County Quality of Life Report Card concluded that over the past 8 years, 25 to 45-year-olds are moving out of Orange County. Why do you think this is happening? What do you think your role is as county executive in curbing that out-migration?
I think a lot of the out-migration that we've had certainly is tied to the economy. How many of our young have had to move home with parents? They come out of college and there's no job for them. It is absolutely tied to the jobs that I see. We're actually, and I brought it with me tonight, coming, that the partnership has shown. I'm not talking about 1,000 jobs in 1,000 days, as my opponent has spoken about, because there's been 932 jobs already this year. We're not going to reduce it by 2/3 to do what my opponent has said we should be doing with jobs in the future. The people that are moving, they need to see something happening also within areas like the riverfront. That's a big draw. We need to make a community that is welcoming to the younger people. And I don't think we have that. And I'll tell you, if they listen to mom and dad talk about their property taxes, they sure in heck don't want to stay here.
Mr. Neuhaus.
It's definitely key to get economic development as a centerpiece for getting younger people, including people my age, to stay in the area. I've seen most people I graduated high school with flee this area. And people aren't leaving New York State, they're running from it. We lost more jobs than Texas and California combined in the last 6 months. And my priority is economic development. 1,000 jobs in 1,000 days is an aggressive plan. I have a plan, my opponent doesn't, because she has zero background in economic development. It is the only way we're going to save this county. It's the only way we're going to save budgets like Valley View. It's the only way to get out of this hole. And economic development, you see the companies that have come to Chester. We are a shining example in Orange County of getting through the approval process and welcoming companies in. I don't know one company that could come out there and say they were thinking about leaving or thinking about coming to Orange County because of my opponent. That is a stark difference. And furthermore, I've been very involved with the Orange County Chamber of Commerce partnership. My opponent has never been to a chamber breakfast that anybody can remember, including their administrative staff. That's a serious issue. That is the backbone of American business, small business. They meet once a month and they discuss the issues that come up in front of them. That is critical. Economic development is what my record is saving and cutting spending and saving on tax dollars in Chester. I'm proud of it, and I will believe when we consolidate some of the IDA, the partnership, all working together under one roof with me at the table, so it's one-stop shopping. The company comes to Orange County, think about locating, they're meeting with me, and they're meeting with everybody in one shop. Thank you.
Ms. Donnery.
Thank you. I don't think I've ever seen my opponent at any committee meetings in Orange County government, and I think he needs to have a better understanding also of the way our government is run. And we do run by committees. First of all, I happen to think that those leaders that have gone before me, Lou Heimbach, Eddie Diana, I think we've put together an incredible group that works so, I think, beautifully in this county. When I saw presentations in this past year...
I'm sorry, you're running out of time. All right, we move on to our next question, which will be directed to Mr. Neuhaus. Efforts to sell and redevelop the former Camp LaGuardia men's homeless shelter have been stalled. Buildings have become eyesores, targets of vandals. What should be happening there?
Well, I've lived in the area my entire life, and that area for decades has been plagued by criminals and all sorts of crimes, ranging from misdemeanors to violent crime. It was a gift when it was closed in 2008, and I thank the county for taking the leadership for purchasing that. There was 4 purchasers that came to the table. One had more violations than the Helmsleys. One of them was from a foreign country that never did any development in Chester. And the other one was a university that wanted 1,000 high-density units in my town. Now, I'm neighbors to Monroe, and you can read between the lines. I didn't want to see what happened in Monroe in our town, so we didn't side with the university. The 4th was Mountco. They came with a lot of commercial. They came with the Mount St. Mary College. At the end of the day, the latest proposal from Mountco had big tax breaks, pilot agreements for residential units, which we didn't support, and less commercial, and and almost no remnants of Mount St. Mary College. So what should be done at Camp LaGuardia, and what was missing is Blooming Grove was going in their direction, Chester's was going in their direction, communicating here and there, but there's no shepherding from the county. I think the county office of planning should be shepherding the 2 towns to get something done there. And you know what, if it took 5 years, it's been off the tax rolls. If it takes a little more time so something bad doesn't go there that was reminiscent to something in the past, it's worth it. And you can ask anybody in my area of the county who was really under siege, they would agree with me.
Ms. Donnery?
Actually, it's been off the tax rolls for 5 years. We spent $8.5 million on it. It's being neglected, the weeds are growing, the glass is broken, and we've not moved forward. I supported the college on that property that many years ago, and it was actually Mr. Neuhaus that came before the legislature and really convinced us, because of home rule, that he and Charlie Bohan, the other superintendent, could work best with Mountco. Mountco was very clear then of the number of units. It was all laid out in the RFP. There was no mystery. The thing that was a mystery for me was finding out that sewer had been promised. Sewer was promised and could not be given. The Harriman plant right now is almost full. There's almost no capacity left. What has gone on there has been a debacle. And I'm not blaming it on Malco. I'm blaming it on a contract that we agreed to that we could never deliver on. And it's still the county dollars. And it's off the tax rolls. And we need to start moving that forward. We need to start moving it forward. And what happened between two communities and what the agreement was over sewer has been another actual debacle, because we had actually Superintendent of Bloomingdale come to us and tell us,
I'm sorry.
you can't do what you're doing. I'm sorry.
That's all right. 30 seconds.
The bottom line, the Camp LaGuardia, when I'm elected county executive in January, we will be shepherding it through the process, and it is an ideal location for a mix of development. There's 100 acres of black dirt that was identified from not me, not Steve Neuhaus, but our comprehensive commission, as well as we want to keep it as a commercially zoned property. So there are great examples that we can have shovel-ready sites there. And I think a little bit of cooperation with the shepherding of the county, we can get the two towns to hopefully get to a resolution.
Ms. Donnery, a question now provided involving government efficiency and budgeting. How do you propose to prepare your budget to stay within the 2% property tax cap and to retain the county's favorable bond rating?
First of all, let me go back to that, the favorable bond rating, which is AAA, and we are very proud of it. But please understand also, the county executive for 10 years didn't have AAA. He had a lesser rating. The AAA bond, when I actually read the report on it, it talked about a dependency on sales tax. It did not talk about Valley View specifically. And that has been used as a scare tactic. That has been used to make everyone believe that we are going to be bankrupt if we don't get rid of Valley View. I believe that the numbers need to be real. I would be calling for a comprehensive audit of all of our financials. Everything needs to be looked at and looked at carefully. You can play with numbers, you can move things around, and we cannot trust what is happening right now. We have an opportunity right now by changing the way we do business in this county. Incestuous business relationships, the same people that are hired over and over again, the good old boys, that goes on and on. It needs to change. We need to trust. We need to be able to trust the numbers before you can do a budget. The first thing that has to happen is that audit.
Mr. Neuhaus.
I'm proud of my record in Chester. Moody's has upgraded my town 2 percentage points since I've been supervisor. Some towns have even been put on warning lists. So I have experience in keeping bond ratings and growing bond ratings. More importantly, Moody's they gave an independent outlook on the county, and it's negative. So I don't think you get any more independent than that. The only way to stay below the tax cap, which I have done in Chester every year I've been supervisor, is by growing the economy. I have the experience of growing the economy. It's all about jobs. And when you bring in new jobs, new companies, Coach USA under construction, they bring more tax revenue, so it's a relief to my taxpayers and the existing businesses that are there. And in addition to that, it helps me balance my budget. It's the only way to get out of this hole. It's the only way to keep the bond rating strong. Okay.
First of all, our sales tax is what has kept us above the fray, above what our neighbors have suffered. We have had the cash cow called Woodbury Common. People can take all the credit they want, but even as we were being advised to lower our budget of budgeting that sales tax number, there was only 1 year it went down. Every single year it's gone up. $15 million this past year, $12 million the year before. In fact, our worst economy year, 2010, was Woodbury Common's best year. And that is the reason why we have been able to really keep the county where we are, why we've been able to keep it even under that 2% cap, and why we will continue to be able to do it, because it's international money primarily.
Thank you. Mr. Neuhaus now, provided question involving education. How would your administration advocate for an alternative source of public school funding to alleviate the increased and growing burden of school taxes on local property owners?
I think it's a legislative issue with the Assembly and the Senate, but that obviously hasn't gotten anywhere. So I think utilizing the Association of County Executives and NISAC, Association of Counties, a stronger voice in Albany would be one step. Furthermore, we need to look at alternative ways of funding education back home locally here, like different companies that are coming to Orange County. I've met with many of them. And I've also met with, for instance, the Orange County Electrical Contractors Association, made up of both union and non-union. They're looking for more men and women to hire that aren't trained. And I believe that we can create some partnerships locally to start alleviating some of that funding issue. Because otherwise, it's never on the priority of Albany, and we're going to continue to be stuck in this mess. So one, we have to utilize our resources, NISAC, to start lobbying heavily for it. And number two, start getting creative back home, having local companies partner with local institutions to start educating our kids at all levels.
Ms. Donnery.
Yes, been involved in this for many years, been involved in school districts when I take care of Highland Falls federal aid around this country. So I've seen various ways of funding schools. And some that I saw, like Michigan might have been 1 year ago, that they said would fail because they were going to go remove themselves from depending on property tax. And it worked for them. I believe in New York, we seriously have to look at getting the taxes off the property owner. It's tied to why our children aren't staying here. It's tied to why our senior citizens can't afford to stay in their homes. This could be a bully pulpit. Our position, my position in this county could be a bully pulpit to really get that message to Albany and to say it's time to take the burden off the people in this county. It could be spread over a variety of taxes. It could be a combination of an income tax with sales tax. It's done in so many different ways, and we need to do it, or we will continue to lose the citizens of this state. We better do it. We don't have time to waste.
Mr. Neuhaus, you have an additional 30 seconds.
I would just say my opponent's been at this for 16 years and nothing's changed. It's gotten worse and worse. It's time to give somebody a crack at it.
Question now directed to Ms. Donnery. The current administration has had frequent battles with the legislature, as you well know, as county executive. What steps would you take to create a good working relationship between the executive and legislative branches?
I think the first thing that I would do is respect that when a majority vote is taken and a majority votes on that, on whatever the issue is, that it's respected, that it is respected. We have that problem in the legislature, we have the problem with the executive. You set an agenda, you haven't finished it, so you're going to keep on pounding till you get your will, your desire. We have several obstructionists that will go right along with it, that are very happy to cooperate in what's going on right now. It's very, very important that you have respect for the legislature. The door is open. You're a part of all the process. You're not withholding from part of the legislature, letting the other part have information, but it's an equal sharing. We all represent a specific area in this county, and our residents are absolutely should be insulted that they are not given the attention when you block out certain legislators from the information.
I think it's embarrassing what's happened in the last few years in Orange County government. Lawsuits back and forth between the legislature and the executive. Our county attorney's office is bogged down with internal lawsuits rather than doing what they could do, maybe helping the cities out with quality of life crimes. But what I would do is what I have a history of doing, working with Democrats across the aisle. I'm the Vice President of the Association of Town Supervisors and Mayors, elected by Republican and Democratic supervisors and mayors around the county. I have a history of working well with people, not fighting. And that's really what we have not seen in county government. It's been a long time. You see what's going down in Washington, D.C. It's bled into Albany, and now it's bleeding into our county government. And what we are doing is really punishing the taxpayers. No county building, budgets that are up and down. We need to really have somebody that has a history of working well with others to get a crack at it. I have that background, and I look forward to rolling up my sleeves and reaching out across the aisle with the Democrats and Republicans in the legislature.
Ms. Donnery, you have
Yes,
additional 3 seconds.
yes. Excuse me, but he's forgetting to tell you, he really is a political operative. The last 5 or 6 years, he's had a full-time job with the Republican Assembly Committee in Albany, while he has his full-time job as supervisor. How many times have we looked and we see chair of the Young Republicans, maybe the state Republicans? How about the quote in the newspaper a couple years ago? If anyone gets out of order, his quote, "We will bloody and batter them." Is that getting along? Is that getting along with people? I don't think so. That's bullying and threatening.
We are going to stay on point, move on to our next provided question, dealing with agriculture, directed to Mr. Neuhaus. Hudson Valley has become an economically vibrant food producer, supporting new and diverse businesses. Farming offers substantial economic development benefits. In addition to being backbone of the valley's $800 million agricultural economy, it's critical to the region's $4.2 billion tourism industry. What have you done in your current roles to promote agribusiness in your own communities? And what do you see as the role of county government in addressing agribusiness?
Agriculture is a huge part of our Orange County economy. We should be proud of it. In Chester, we have not only started our own farmers market, which has been popular around the area, but we've also put an actual farmer on our comprehensive committee to actually have a seat at the table for them. In addition to that, countywide, we are lucky in Chester and Warwick to have huge blackbird areas, which are rich in minerals for growing all different crops, especially onions. I've met with the people that are really doing the work, the farmers, the Caballeros from Top Gun producers in Warwick, to hear what their problems are. And a lot of their issues resolve around 2 things: economics, getting their product to market, and number 2, the restrictions from the DEC on allowing them to do things that will make their crops more successful, dredging, so on and so forth. So what I would do is utilize my position as county executive to break through some of these barriers, which have really punished a lot of towns in Orange County. It's a stark difference from what you see is going on in Ulster County, who have taken a proactive role under County Executive Hine to break through those barriers with the DEC to help flood victims and farms up there. So that's one thing. The economics, it shouldn't be that an apple that comes from Argentina is cheaper to purchase at ShopRite in Montgomery than an apple that's grown here in Slate Hill.
Ms. Donnery, agribusiness?
Yes, I'm very proud actually to be part of the county government. It was very, very cooperative as far as the cleanup of the walkout. And I've had conversations also with the farmers and the concern that they have, even our dairy farmers. I think they said 56 farms had closed between 2002 and 2009. But then you might see, like the producers that are dealing with the Greek yogurt, that should be using the products that come from the county. We live so close to the city, and I understand there's so much that gets taken to the city, and there's so much benefit that has helped the farmers. But I think the dairy farmers somehow have been left behind with the pricing. And I would love to see, I have recently gone actually to a fluid milk presentation, a milk plant presentation at Cornell Cooperative. And it was very interesting, because sitting there I was thinking as they were talking about it, and it used to have hundreds in the state, and now maybe there's 70. And I was thinking, wouldn't it have been great to have the partnership there, to have others come in and be a part of allowing that part of the farming business to succeed as much as the producers of the vegetables, etc., have been able to move forward with.
Mr. Neuhaus, 30 seconds.
Agriculture is number 3 on my 5-part plan restoring the economy in Orange County. I've had a history of working with our local farmers. My opponent's been there for 16 years, too little, too late. Walk Hill's not being dredged, so many issues. So we can talk of what we want to do, but we all have a record of what we've done. So I'm proud of that, and I look forward to working it.
Let's move now on back to the issue of economic development with the provided question. Here it is. Developers have long charged that the state's Environmental Quality Review Act, (SECRA), their approval process has prompted investors to shy away from New York State due to delays in litigation they view caused by the legislation. Do you believe SECRA is in need of reform? And if so, can you explain how you would advance SECRA reform? Ms. Donnery.
Absolutely, I think that it's in need of reform, but I also think there are certain things that are in place that possibly could be used better. Number one is now they're at least calling for the education of anyone from your planning boards, your zoning boards, and I think having them educated, those board members, coming into the process makes a huge difference. As far as the timeliness of it, and especially when we keep talking shovel-ready projects and getting those in as quickly as we can, it's all going to be those local zoning laws. We have got to educate them well, let them utilize what has been there, but I still think there's further things we can look at with the red tape to shorten the time. I thought MediaCom, when I was at that wonderful celebration, they kept talking about how wonderful it was in such a few short months to be able to get the process through. And it was a matter of getting those board members together, educating them on it, and then moving them forward. And I think that that is going to be the key to the whole thing. Having them have the knowledge of what to do and to get it moving. Scoping, I don't think, though it's in the law, I don't think they always do the scoping plans. And I think that is another thing that might save in time in presenting up front more to the public, bringing the public into the process.
The State Environmental Quality Review Act is like the Miranda rights. It can and will be used against you. And I am proud that my planning board chairman is here in the audience. And in Chester, we've been able to cut through that red tape and have record approval times. I do believe it needs to be overhauled. I would credit John Laval, if he's here, and Dominic Credisco, who from the Alliance for Balanced Growth last year took on the state when they tried to make it even more restrictive. So we need to keep our eye on the ball to, one, not let it get even more out of hand. Number two, find ways to cut through it so we can get through the red tape and have shovel-ready sites and give people jobs. Number three, the local towns that want to attract growth. It's a home rule state. If they want to attract growth and they want to be proactive, they will do that. And the Municipal Planning Federation for Orange County does a wonderful job at educating them right now.
Ms. Donnery,
Yes, I would like to really refer to the fact that when you are fortunate enough to live on a road like Route 17 and you can have properties there, there's a tremendous advantage to what you can claim, as what you have done yourself. And also in the areas that I represent in my county, because he keeps referring back to 16 years, and I represent Woodbury, and I take care of them very well. And I represent Highland Falls, and I take care of them very well. But we do not have, in my small community that I live in, a road system that would draw that kind of business.
Thank you. Moving along, a question to be directed to Mr. Neuhaus, a provided question on infrastructure. Given that recent natural disasters have cost residents, businesses, and municipalities millions of dollars, and hazard mitigation and rehabilitation is extremely expensive, what do you think the county can do to minimize damage? How would you propose to best prepare our infrastructure, residents, and businesses from these types of events?
Obviously, the last couple of years, the storms have been getting worse, and every town, city, and village has been impacted by it. There's a couple things we need to do. Number one, on a municipal level and a county level, we need to take an inventory of our existing infrastructure and see if it needs to be upgraded, increasing the size of culverts, pipes, so on and so forth. Second, utilizing the Water Authority, which still has funding, to start studying these regional areas for not only water to drainage water, but also municipal infrastructure, sewer, water, and so on and so forth. So you don't have communities building their own water line to other communities that only serves one. It's just bad government. So the county can take a lead on it, but the third part of it is, again, referring back to the DEC. They just appointed a new regional director for Region 3. Hopefully he is more open-minded to some of the things that have stopped those type of changes in Orange County so far. The fourth thing is their funding issues. We need to make sure that our different water districts and drainage districts are well funded so we can keep up with the infrastructure, so they're maintained and they're replaced. And that's what we've done in Chester. Every one of our water districts is running in a surplus. Every one of our sewer districts are running in a surplus, and we're replacing and improving infrastructure time after time to keep up with it.
Ms. Donnery.
I think also that intermunicipal working together, for instance, the flooding that we had, the problems that we did have around the government center with all of the storms, that there's a problem with Goshen and with the county that we could have been working together on with that Rio Grande that caused those problems. What was coming up with literally septic in the manholes. Obviously, there needs to be a great improvement in what we're doing with infrastructure. But again, when I do things, I would like to work equally with all of the different communities. I do not like that we can favor one community. We bend all rules. Curious Joel is putting in a pipeline. No one's worrying about infrastructure or talking about anything there with their neighbors. They're always concerned about one community that somehow has an open door to everything. How do you think Monroe feels? How do you think Woodbury feels? Do you think that there's really going to be intermunicipal cooperation there? Or do you think the same favoritism is going to go on as it's been going on for a long time, favoring one community?
Mr. Neuhaus.
Just getting back to the issue, we need to focus on what has happened in the last 2 years, taking an analysis, which every municipality has, looking at what happened with the flooding, what happened with the water and sewer needs, and we need to come up with a county-wide solution to making sure that people are safe for future flooding and that we have the infrastructure to grow in the future.
A question now provided dealing with health. Ms. Donnery, what are the most pressing health issues in Orange County? And what will your administration do to improve these?
Oh, we're all facing the exchanges that just came on, so certainly we're all concerned about health right now. I believe that our most pressing problem is mental health. And I'm very, very concerned, especially when I see the closing that we've had in the past at the Psych Center. And now we have also the Forensic Psych Center being threatened to close in the next few years. And you know, when those things have happened in the past in the state, in this state, the state has never followed through with promises and services that would be available to those out in the community. 1 in 5 children have mental health issues, and probably 1 in that group will get help. We have a serious problem. Look at even our suicide rate that we're dealing with our children today. We have a serious problem. We need to make sure that the programs are going to be there to take care of our children and take care of our own future because of those children.
Mental health is one of the issues, obviously, with the closing of Middletown Psych, and meeting with all the partners that are involved, nonprofits, and with county government. We are very concerned. My teammates, Andy Rapp and Dave Hoover, and I met with them a few weeks ago to hear their concerns. But let's get back to St. Luke's and Cornwall. They're going to close the hospital, and I live in Chester. They closed Art Hill. Now there's an extra 15 minutes with the traffic right now at 17. If God forbid there's an emergency in my community to get up there. But what we need to do to stop closures like St. Luke's Cornwall is to not only go to the table and talk with the hospital, but also request emergency state aid from Albany. Every hospital that's been saved in this region has been saved with emergency state aid from Albany. And that includes even the new hospital that was built here got assistance from the state. So that is a huge concern for me. Another concern is when hospitals are talking about major layoffs. So I'm concerned when you look at not only the Citizens Foundation report card for the future, says that healthcare is one of the growing industries, and you see there's a waiting list to get into Orange County Community College, you get in a nursing program now, that you see major layoffs. Now, the federal government and the national healthcare is above our pay grade, but we need to be able to prepare locally, and we need to make sure that we can provide the economies of scale to keep hospitals in operation and not foster layoffs.
Ms. Donnery, for example?
Actually, Highland Falls has a problem getting over the mountain. It's very dangerous for us to lose the Cornwall Hospital, and I've voiced my opinion on that. But we're talking about a state helping us, coming in to help us, but the state, we think they're not going to look at the large bonuses that they've been giving in that hospital to their own people. Those kinds of things do not help us get help from the state.
Let's follow up on healthcare. Mr. Neuhaus, healthcare costs are skyrocketing. This question provided, would you consider having county employees seek health insurance coverage through the health insurance exchange?
I would have no problem with that, and we need to get creative on healthcare. It is a huge concern for me. I'm a father with 2 young girls, a 1-year-old and 3-year-old. So what we've done in Chester is we've explored going to the private sector healthcare, and so far it's been working out okay. And we wouldn't be good shepherds or good stewards of the taxpayer money if we didn't look at alternatives. We are relying solely, every government, on NISHIP, and that is the New York State Health. That's what every county legislator, every county and town and village and city employees, for the most part, get. And that is governed by the state. They have some major inefficiencies, and that's why their costs are tremendous. The average American pays at least 25% towards their health care, at least. And I think we need to start looking at alternatives, both with the national health care, both with the private sector, and obviously we have to get the cooperation from the bargaining units. Our units in Chester, we negotiate with the Teamsters. The Teamsters are offering their own alternative now to employees. So we need to get creative with it. The costs are above the rate of inflation. If you ask any executive, town supervisor, or mayor, it's the health costs and the pension costs that are really killing the budgets.
Ms. Donnery, the exchange.
Actually, with what is coming down, I think it's going to take a bit of time for it to shake itself out as far as the effect of Obamacare, really. I must remind everyone, though, that it is negotiated when you're dealing with employees, and that we'll be at a negotiating table. I will be open to do whatever we need to do, but it will be in cooperation with those that I'll be dealing with. It's a major problem. Even I'm very, very concerned about everyone having to purchase it, even if they're getting credit to help them. With so many people out of work and really low-paying jobs, some people working 2 and 3 jobs, how will a family be able to even pay for the basic health care, even with those credits that they're going to be given? I think we have a very, very big problem. It's probably too soon yet to see how it will come down, but we need to stay on top of it because they are the costs that we have got to bring under control for the future. Our governments can't continue.
You're out of time with that question. Thank you. Ms. Donnery, let's move on. Let's move back to education with this question. County government recently approved grant funding for local school districts to help improve school security in the aftermath of Newtown. Do you see other areas where the county executive's office and county government in general can take an active role in public education? And if so, what are those areas, and what would be your initiatives?
I think the first thing that I would do is, because a lot of the ancillary help for the children's programs in the schools are not available today, I believe that we would be able to come together and partner more with the schools as we move forward. It's changing the level of poverty, the free and reduced lunch numbers that we're dealing with, the bad economy, the people that have lost their jobs, many embarrassed to even ask that they need help, and they're being even fed at the schools, sometimes more than one meal. We need those services available. Remember, I spoke to you before about the children and mental health issues. It's so important to be
where it's supposed to be. We have those children captured in the school situation. We can't deal with just children, we're going to have to deal with the families. And if I did anything, it would be in a partnering that we're dealing with the children in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Neuhaus.
I'm not going to tell the school districts how to run their school boards. I have enough on my hands as a town supervisor and hopefully as county executive, but I think there's many opportunities to partner with school districts on sharing costs, whether it be maintenance on vehicles or costs on fuel and so on and so forth. So there's a huge opportunity out there that we can work together to save on costs. But let me tell you what we've done in Chester. We've partnered with our school district, Chester School District. So when companies come in here, even on the Woodbury District, when it's on the other sides of the county, when businesses and companies or residential developments propose to come to our area. So we work close right now to school boards. When we decided that an IDA tax rate was too high and too abusive to our taxpayers, the school district and the village of Chester and the town of Chester came together and fought for the tax breaks. And that policy now has really been peeled back by the current IDA, and they get input from local municipalities. So I'm proud of the relationship we have right now with school districts, but I think there's a huge opportunity to work together in the future for some cost savings.
Ms. Donnery, 30 seconds.
I actually agree with that, but I also agree that taxes are the main thing that we have to worry about. So whatever we do, we have to be smart about the way we're doing it. And I understand also that we keep hearing over and over about the good tax things, the good care that Chester is receiving. But yet, I have the Orange County Real Property Tax Service information book, and though Mr. Neuhaus continuously says that he has the lowest taxes, among the lowest in the county, he's at the top. Number 3 out of 20 towns.
Okay, we are out of time. Okay. The next question will be directed to Mr. Neuhaus, and it's a provided question dealing with transportation. What do you think are the county's most pressing transportation issues, and how would you address those issues?
Huge transportation issues in Orange County. Number one, the dial bus program is dying. Many municipalities are getting rid of it. But that still doesn't mean that there's not a need to get seniors to the doctors, to the grocery stores, to the places that they need to go to. I think the county needs to take a role and look at a study to study transportation, not only for seniors though, but also for economic development, so we can bring people to these jobs. If we're talking about getting the cities revitalized, and we're talking about these economic corridors like Walk Hill and Chester and potentially Warwick with the prison site, we're going to need to get workers there. And to get the traffic relief from the roads, it's a wonderful opportunity to utilize some type of county-wide system, beef up the one we have now, but make it really something with teeth that can accommodate seniors, that can accommodate my wife and I and the kids if we want to go shopping on a Saturday, or can accommodate the average worker that wants to get to a different location that has opportunity for them to work. So I believe there's much opportunity for the future, and that is something that is a priority to me, and I can't wait to get to work on it because I see the cost of dial bus in Chester, and I'm holding on to it because of the seniors that utilize it. They have nowhere else to go. They have no other opportunity. But I've seen other towns around the county that have scrapped it just because of cost.
Ms. Donnery.
Yes, actually, I've also seen it, and to me, it's devastating, and I hear from the seniors the effect that it has. But there has been some intermunicipal cooperation with the sharing, I know, of the dollar bus between communities, and it wasn't that many years ago that they weren't allowed to do that or even go out of the community. But I also know that our Commissioner of Planning, that we have transportation plans. They've been putting new routes together, certainly trying to connect the Newburgh with the Woodbury Common. We have regular runs that do that. But another area that I think we keep not thinking about, that's very, very big for me, is exit 131 that has been pushed back on the state, really with the budget constraints, the Woodbury Common Loop, and it affects that whole area of our highway system. When I have to come up to the county later in the evening, the amount of traffic that is getting up there in the evening. And now they've not corrected, and it's going to be pushed off till 17. The loop that they were planning there that would help alleviate some of the traffic. And then, if we're talking casinos, what do you do with that? We need another lane. Certainly, we need to fight for that to happen. And we need improvements made to that whole area. Don't forget, Woodbury Common is the cash cow for this county. It is the cash cow. New York State should be smart enough, and I will be telling them often, they make a lot of money, they need to take care of it.
Thank you. You have 30 seconds.
Just one other avenue that needs help with transportation, and that's education. We see the new experimental bus system right now that's busing children or anybody from Port Jervis to Orange County Community College. Those are the type of things that we need to expand on so we can make sure that our young men or our young women and our whatever age they are can have the opportunity to go to college.
Let's move on now with a question directed to Ms. Donnery, dealing with economic development. The portfolio of shovel-ready sites in Orange County is diminishing as more companies are constructing new facilities. What are the implications of this, and how will you deal with it as county executive?
That will be, here we are in an economic, recovery, we hope, and then to see the shovel-ready sites disappear. I think there needs to be, again, greater intermunicipal connectiveness that maybe would benefit us and be able to work together, that we would know what is happening in each community and what is out there. I think that, again, the partnership has done an incredible job with the amount of business that's brought in. We need it now to move forward. We, in the past, actually, the county legislature had voted and made it happen with John McCarry, our property person, that if anything came up for foreclosure even within the county, that the communities would be able to take that piece before it goes out to be sold to others. But I think it's the communication. It can happen today, especially with the technology that we have. And I think, again, better training of all those people in the communities, that they have a better idea of the importance of all of us working together for the betterment of this county.
We have those sites identified. If you look at the Citizens Foundation annual report of last year, it tells you which communities have quick approval times and which ones are growing. In addition to that, it's really the number one issue on my economic plan, shovel-ready sites. We have business after business that comes to Orange County looking to locate here, and there's not a site available for them. It takes 3 to 5 years on the average in New York State to get something approved. So this is a critical thing that we can do to reverse the outward migration of workers and jobs by having shovel-ready sites. And I would utilize the IDA and the funds that they're sitting on, the fees that they take in from new companies coming here to start expediting that. So if you have a town like the end of Hughes and Walpole that's pro-business and wants to have sites ready to go, so a company literally has to come in and get a building permit, we need to empower those communities. Chester, other towns that want to do that. In addition to that, we can support the cities. Mayor DeStefano and the other 3 cities are sitting on a huge portfolio of possible economic development sites. And this is something that we can use if we just promote it more and we take care of some of the maybe environmental issues. We can make the 3 cities marketable, we can make the towns that are pro-business marketable, and then on the 3rd tier, we can help some of the local businesses in the towns and villages that are a little restricted or landlocked. So I think there's many things we can do. They might need infrastructure improvements. Highland Falls have water issues. Some other towns have sewer issues. We can use that money to start helping them.
You have an additional 30 seconds, Ms. Dunn.
I just would like to say, let's not forget also the possibility of small businesses and economic development. And there's creative things being done around the country that actually reaches out to the small businesses and someone that may have a very wonderful idea, but not the funds. We have our accelerator. It's wonderful. It's always filled. It gives the advantages to business. But I'm talking more the small shops, the boutiques, and those are the kind of neighborhoods in the cities that we would love because it would draw young people even back to them.
Thank you very much. Let's move back to agriculture now. This question directed initially to Mr. Neuhaus. Preserving farms via conservation easements helps sustain the viability of existing farms, keeps the land available for the next generation of farmers. According to the American Farmland Trust, New York State has been losing farmland at an alarming rate, the equivalent of one farm every 3.5 days. Where does open space and farmland protection fit into your plan or budget, and how do you envision the county acquiring open space in the future?
I think, first of all, I served on the board of directors for the Orange County Land Trust, so I'm very familiar with the topic. In addition to that, as a town supervisor in Chester, we've preserved many acres of former farmlands and actually allowed them to grow into the Goosebump Mountain Park, and we're working on more parcels, so I got to give a shout out to Jim DeLong from the Orange County Land Trust, who's sitting in the audience. It's also one of the reasons why people come here. I think Dave Church, who's also in the audience, said, you preserve what you preserve and you develop what you develop. So we need to make sure that those scapes and those view sheds are protected. So one of the things we've done in Chester is institute ridge overlay protection districts, and also make sure that development, when it does happen, keeps in mind that it's done the right way and it doesn't abuse those precious view sheds. So I think that's one thing. Number two, we do take a lot of properties back in the county. So one of the things that I would do is be more aggressive with offering some sensitive units to local communities to see if they can be purchased before they go to auction, or to something that might be valuable for a future passive park. And the Land Trust is on the ball with that every day, so I look forward to working with them.
Actually, that's what I was referring before to, that we do that already. And I'm very proud that we do that. I also would love to see us be able to return to having our open space grants. I think that it was a marvelous time when we could do both park grants to restore our parks and to repair, and also when we could help communities buy and preserve that land. And I think whatever it is that we have to do to keep this wonderful county and the farms, that's what is also going to affect the economy, because the tourism comes with it. The vistas that we have, they're incredible. And I do believe as the economy turns, when we've changed so much, if you go to local events and you see the number of people that are staying home, it's more important than ever that we work to keep this county exactly the way we want it to be for us to live in, to, as our county executive always talks about, the best place to raise a family and to spend our lives with our family.
We have an additional 30 seconds.
I'll stand on my record, and I look forward to supporting the Land Trust and other agencies for any type of preservation ways we can that are lands that need to be preserved.
Moving along, this question directed initially to Ms. Donnery, and it's a provided question under the umbrella of crime, and it is, what is your view of the role of the county executive as it relates to the county sheriff's department?
Well, as the county executive always says that he is the administrator in the county. Though the sheriff is elected, certainly the budget is still under the county executive. And I agree with the county executive actually in this issue.
I have a very close relationship with my police chief in Chester and other police chiefs I work for in other municipalities in Bloomberg and previous ones before my current chief. But the sheriff is an independently elected official. I do have oversight over his budget with the legislature if I'm elected as county executive, but the departments run pretty autonomous, and I support the sheriff. I'm sure we're going to have platforms maybe with budget issues, but his office is going to be critically important for the future of Orange County.
Ms. Donnery, anything to add to?
Yes, it is critically important, and he's to be there for everyone's public safety. and that includes me. And he should not be political. And I know when he ran for the position that he's in, he had said that he would not be political. And yet I see him now in TV commercials, etc. I do not believe that's the way you serve all the people in this county.
Moving along back into the field of infrastructure, Mr. Neuhaus, a question here. What is your approach to the phrase, it deals with the phrase smart growth. What's your approach to smart growth in Orange County?
I think a great example of smart growth is the opposite of what you're seeing with the Cures-Well pipeline. You're seeing one community run a pipeline for its own water use, rather than having regional water loops. Years ago in the 80s, when I was in diapers or just out of diapers, they had the county loops. They were shelved. What we should go back to is empowering the water authority to create regional loops, so we can help communities grow and a county control the spigot, not one village, which will have now an out of control spigot of water from the New York City aqueduct. I think that's bad planning. I think it's bad government. And if I was county executive today, I would ask the county attorney's office to condemn the pipeline for county uses and stop that and use it something that would be beneficial to all Southern Orange County. That's the first thing I would do. Number two, we need to look and empower the county planning office a little more to work with the municipalities for sewer issues as well. They're critical. Without sewer and water, you can't grow. And as we stated earlier, we are almost at capacity, and it's time to do a county-wide sewer study to look at the future for all areas: Middletown, Chester, Highland Falls, you name it.
Ms. Donnery, your approach to smart growth?
I see smart growth is building where the infrastructure exists. A dream that I would have as county executive is to really see the planning happen around those areas. For instance, what I see Middletown doing, they're the perfect answer to what I see with the living they're doing over the buildings they're renovating. People can walk, they're not having to get in the car. It seems to be more desirable today. We have people coming back to New York City because of that. And I would love to see that within our own cities, and would do everything I could to have it happen. Those communities outlying, like Warwick, I think has been a terrific model also, with the way they have built and the downtown that they've developed that makes it such a desirable place to live. Farmlands, yes, and it's wonderful, and all they've done to preserve it, but they've also built, even for the retirement age people, and the ability to be able to walk to their main street. That to me is smart growth. Looking to the future, maybe to return to something that our own families were drawn to many, many years ago.
You have 30 seconds on this topic.
Infrastructure is a crisis now in Orange County. Water, sewer, and it would be nice if we could think of, if we weren't bogged down in political infighting year after year the last few years, if we could have focused on looking towards the future and not run out of these resources, and then that's going to be a critical time for job creation, and it won't be there. So that's just something to think about.
All right, we have time for a few more questions before we get to our closing statements. This one will be directed to Roxanne Donnery. Ms. Donnery, what is your view on municipal home rule, and how will you advance your philosophy?
Municipal home rule, that's the reason, my belief in home rule is the reason why I changed my vote for the Campbell property, because I supported the college. We had Ladycliff College in Hunter Falls years ago. It was a wonderful little college village at the time. It wasn't like West Point, it's huge and very insular, right within our town. Very different feeling to have that kind of a college feeling. But I will say that when Mr. Neuhaus came to the legislature and asked us to change from the support of the college that had already come out of the Fiscal Service Committee with the unanimous vote, I listened carefully, and what made me change my mind
was his saying to me, we, our communities, want Mount Co. We want Mount Co. And I couldn't understand it. I wanted a college. I think the housing he's looking at was dormitories for students. You could have international students. It could have been, they were looking to build a college community, a wonderful village-type college community. And I could not understand for the life of me why he would choose the company that had 900 and some housing units. It was beyond me, but I respected home rule, and that's why I changed my vote.
All right, Mr. Neuhaus.
If Ms. Donnery says she respects home rule, then she would be blasting not me, it's the town of Chester and Charlie Bohan. You keep forgetting to mention Charlie Bohan, and he was representative of that board, whether the board was divided or not.
I'm sorry, he was.
All right, let's,
But having 1,000 high-density units in my town, I've seen what happened in Monroe, and I'm not going to let that happen under my watch in my community. So when somebody comes bearing gifts and saying, we're going to build you a beautiful university, but we need 1,000 high-density housing first, you don't need that many people to form a village. So when you grow up in Orange County, you have your backup, and you know to be aware of that stuff. As it comes to home rule, this is a home rule state. Depending on, it doesn't matter where we feel on it, we need to respect it because it's the law of the land. I've been a local municipal official for the last over 6 years, including plus my time as a town councilman, and I respect that law, and I will respect the localities. That's why I mentioned earlier communities that might be leaders in economic development, like Wallkill and Newburgh or so, might, those are the ones that can continue to strive. It happens locally. If you use the secret right against it, you'll stop it.
you have 30 more seconds.
Just frustrating for me that $8.5 million of the county tax dollars was spent, and that we've had this situation where the people that wanted it then don't want it. And I would love it opened up, and not that I want the college, I'm open for anything. I would like to get the taxpayers' dollars back, and that are the tax rolls.
We will have time for 2 more questions, and this question will be directed to Mr. Neuhaus, and it deals with arts and economic development. To support public art, many municipalities have implemented a percent for art law. It requires a percentage of the budget for eligible construction projects be spent on public art. Would your administration consider supporting something like this, and if so, how do you see it being implemented?
I'd be open to it, but I'm lucky in Chester to have a very arts community that's already been established in Sugarloaf. It's had its tough times, but it's really starting to see a rebirth. In addition to that, I think when you see around the county things, and I hate giving the mayor of Middletown a shout out, but we're in his forum, and Ken Del Vecchio's in the audience from the Hoboken Film Festival. Wonderful things are happening, and we need to empower not only breaks when a new company comes here with an incentive towards arts, but we need to empower these new industries like film that's coming to Orange County. So I've met with the Arts Council, I've met with different agencies and nonprofits that represent the arts, and it's something that we definitely need to keep supporting and empowering and growing, because it's part of the reason why we come here, to have those type of facilities for our families to enjoy. So I'm looking forward to supporting them in any way, and I think that we should start taking a look at really growing the Arts Council and having the county take a lead on it. And I have a great future, I believe, as executive in empowering that and supporting those movements.
Ms. Donnery, the role of arts and economic development?
Actually, I'm very proud that we have always contributed to the arts in Orange County. The dollars, not maybe that they need, but we have been able to contribute, and I think that's been very, very important. Again, it's a quality of life issue. So I think it's significant, again, to keep the people that are here in the state, in our neighborhoods, in our county. Very important. I also think that the upcoming area in the arts to really invest in, and I would love us to be able to see how we can do more, is the film industry. It's just incredible. I have a granddaughter at NYU in film, and interning over the summer. She was on a train, and they were running from Kingston to Poughkeepsie to everywhere you can imagine, working on film. And we
I think we have this new office in the county, and it's very exciting to me what we're doing to attract that here. And another shout out for Joe, because boy, that film festival was the best.
You have 30 more seconds?
You know, there's other areas of the county where the film has grown. Newburgh, most recently, where we have a huge investment from a film crew that's coming in there, and they're actually filming short films and movies at the same time. So that is a growing industry. We have a history of working with our companies that come in and start donating and benefiting recreational causes. So I think, going back to the original question, we could use those companies that are coming in with construction costs to benefit arts.
And our final question will be directed initially to Ms. Donnery, and it's a general one, and it's about leadership. How would you describe your management style?
Very different from what exists now. First of all, I believe in empowering people. I'm not a micromanager. I believe that the morale is very, very important. Certainly, you take lead in the lead office, without a doubt. But to get the best out of everyone, you have collaboration. You work with one another. I think also that I will be very hands-on and all over this county. I'm not one to stay still, stay in a room. I believe that the gifts that we have here in the county can be brought out. It can bring us together in a way that I've not seen. We're fractured. Our government is fractured. I'm very proud of the people that we have hired. We have incredible commissioners. We have so many wonderful department heads. And I think that this great county can be made even greater. But again, it's going to be that office at the top that can bring back that trust. And that means among the workers too. Again, I love to empower people. I like managers to be able to be managers, and I'm not a micromanager.
Mr. Neuhaus, your management style?
I have a great experience of working in different executive positions, so I'm proud of my management style. We've been able to get things done. My local town board, we work hand in glove. We discuss the issues, we debate the issues, but at the end of the day, we always come together and do what's right for the community. And that's why we've been so successful with bringing in so many companies. They support me in every different aspect of job creation. When we meet with business owners, when they come to our towns, when they meet with us, we take walks on sites, when we make appointments to planning boards, that's what it's all about. And I'm proud of my leadership experience in the military as well. I spent some time away from my wife and kids, but it's made me a better person and a better leader because I have to get the buy-in from my junior enlisted people, otherwise we would not be successful in anything we do. So I'm proud of my leadership experience. I would do things a lot differently. I think messaging is a huge part that's been missing in recent years, but you need to get buy-in. And every issue that we've seen an obstacle in Orange County in the last couple years, I think it's because we haven't had enough people from both sides of the aisle on board so we can work together for a solution and move forward. It's been one side versus the other.
Ms. Donnery, you have 30 seconds.
I think communication is central to it all. And being out there, speaking with those people that are working with you, not necessarily under you, but the respect needs to be there. That again, that information is there. It's collaborative. You have to work together. I saved a school district that was bankrupt, that had a $12 million budget, by pulling together a community. At one point I had protesters in my meetings. All of them were pulled together. We saved that district, and that's the way we collaboratively work.
We have come to the final phase of tonight's proceedings, that being the 2-minute closing statements. And as per the coin flip, we will start the closing statements this evening with Roxanne Donnery.
I can bring about the change. I can bring the transparency to the government. I can bring the collaboration.
I can bring the government back to the people. Several years ago, I actually wrote a statement and I mailed it out to my constituents. I have never changed. Pretty much who Roxanne Donnery is what you see. People always say to me, we never have to worry about what you're thinking because I say it. And I'm honest. My integrity is very important to me. And I wrote this several years ago, and it's me today. It has not changed. And it starts with simply stating, I am not, nor do I have any interest in being a political operative. I'm not afraid to take on bullies or tough issues, and I don't need a script. I'm a person who chooses to unite rather than divide. I'm driven by the people behind the issues. Facts always serve better than spin. Quitting has never been a word in my vocabulary. Control should be of oneself, not others, and I put people before politics. Politics should be based on honesty and integrity. I speak passionately for what I believe is right. I give credit where credit is due. I take pride in what I have accomplished, and I do not need coattails to ride upon. My record is my own, and I'm proud of it. Thank you.
Mr. Neuhaus.
Again, thank you for everybody being here tonight. We have a critical crossroads that we're at in this county right now. We have a budget that's very doomed looking. We have every different outside agency telling us that we're in trouble. We need to correct this ship. Economic development is key to getting us out of this mess. My opponent has zero experience in economic development. Zero. When you talk to your neighbors that are worried about if they're going to have a job tomorrow or if you're going to pay the bills, I get that. I have a vested interest here in Orange County. My opponent already has one foot in Florida, ready to leave here. I'm suffering paying my bills just like many of you out there. We need to elect a chief executive officer to run a multi-million-dollar corporation, not a career protester. That's what we're looking at here, folks. I'm worried about the future. You know most of your friends and family are starting to leave this state or left already. We need to stop their hemorrhaging, and we need to pull ourselves up from the bootstraps and have responsible government. People that have a history of working together. We both have records. Look at my opponent's record and look at my record. But I'll tell you right now, I have a record of working with my board members. I have a record of working across the aisle. My wife and I have 2 kids that we're trying to raise in Orange County, and we want them to be able to stay in Orange County. But if we do not correct this ship, my friends, everybody's going to be leaving here. So I really appreciate your time, and I hope you look at these issues and look at these 2 candidates and see which one is best for your future. Thank you.
That concludes this debate. We hope you found it informative. A thank you to the audience for your courtesy this evening, to the candidates for taking part, and to the Orange County Citizens Foundation, the County Arts Council, the Orange County Land Trust, Orange County Partnership, and SUNY Orange for their roles in setting up this debate and for providing a lot of the questions that we used tonight. And we leave you with this reminder. County executive candidates will appear again for round 2 in this series of debates. The next one will be held at the Newburgh Free Academy Monday, October 7th, beginning at 7 p.m. to be moderated by Bob DeFelice, the host of the Fox radio show Let's Talk Hudson Valley. And we hope to see you then. Good night.